Hi everyone, I just want to take a few minutes and go over an introduction to interviewing and introduce to you the model that we will be using this semester as we study the interviewing process. So let's first start with the definition. So the definition we'll be using is this: an interactional communication process between two parties, at least one of whom has a predetermined and serious purpose that involves the asking and answering of questions. And so basically what we're looking at with this definition is very similar to an interpersonal relationship. And that's kind of the perspective we're taking with interviewing this semester, is that it's very much an interpersonal relationship. Oftentimes we view it as just kind of a very structured conversation, which it is, but it has the elements of an interpersonal relationship. And I think that when we view interviewing in that way, it might kind of change the meaning of it for us. So when we talk about it as an interpersonal process, we look at it as interactional. It's transitional. It's a constant process between two people, and it does have a predetermined purpose, and it does involve asking questions, but it is deceptively complex. And I think as we go through this communication model, we begin to see how it does take on many of the same characteristics of the interpersonal relationships that we experience day to day. So let's take a look at the key terms. Interactional. It's a collaborative process. It's not done alone. It takes two people. And oftentimes, I think when we think of like a job interview, and if we're the interviewee, we think, okay, I'm going to go in, they're going to ask me all these questions, I've got to have the right answer. But it's a collaborative process. You're interviewing that interviewer too. You need to interview them to see if this is a job that you would like to have. So the interviewing process is not just one-sided. It takes both sides, and it takes two people communicating together and collaborating on the ideas and the shared meaning that's being created through the conversation. It's also a process. It is ever-changing. It's not static. As you engage in the conversation, as you engage in the interview, things will change. The process will evolve. As we talk about things like relational history, the more you talk to someone, the more often you talk to someone, changes the dynamic of that conversation. And then finally, there is a clear purpose, and there are very distinct questions. And the questions, the predetermined questions, is what kind of separates the actual labeling it an interview as opposed to just an everyday general conversation. So it is interpersonal in nature. It's complex. It's based on a relational history. And when we look at relationships in general and relational history, it often determines how much we self-disclose to someone, how much we trust someone. That past, what do we know about this person? What have we experienced with this person greatly determines how we handle ourselves in conversation. The thing about an interview is that sometimes your relational history may only be a few minutes, a couple of hours, a couple of days. And so it can be difficult to know what to expect, from that person. And so relational history allows us to understand expectations as well because we have that experience. So we have to, in the beginning, when we're engaging in this interview, just like any new relationship, you kind of have to talk about things, see what works, see how people react, and that's where the process comes in terms of if you answer a question a certain way and you can tell by your response that maybe that wasn't exactly what they were looking for, you've learned something, and that becomes part of the relational history. And so you're then able to alter your next response to maybe better connect with that person because you've observed something about the conversation. So as in all relationships that we have, the relational history teaches us things about that relationship. It also focuses on the relational dimensions or needs that we have from our relationships. And this is based on Schutz's interpersonal needs theory, which basically says that all of our relationships are multidimensional, and there are 5 needs that we have in these relationships, and interviewing is no different. Similarity, inclusion, affection, control, and trust. And so similarity, we're looking for things that we have in common. And I'll use the job interview example again. If you're going into a job interview, you're probably looking around at the person's office to see how you might connect. What might you see that kind of sparks, oh, okay, I'm interested in that too, or we have that similarity. We engage in the small talk in the beginning to figure out how can we get on a common ground. because the similarity reduces our uncertainty. And we know in an interview setting there's a great deal of uncertainty, and so the similarity reduces that. Also, we look for inclusion. We look for things that are called joint actions, where you start to see an awareness of how one's behaving, and then you kind of play into that behavior as well. And so, there's this thing in nonverbal communication called mirroring. Somebody leans back in their chair, the other person does too. That is a sign that you're included in the conversation and that there are joint actions taking place. Also, affection. We don't want to feel like we're in a sterile environment. There's a difference in being talked to and talking with someone. And if you're being talked to, you kind of feel that distance, that this is just one more thing they have to do in their day as an interviewer or something like that. The affection comes from the warmth, using inclusive language like we, instead of me and you, things of that nature. And so we experience this in all of our interpersonal relationships. We want that affection, but we also want to feel that when we're in an interview setting as well. And if you're the person who's doing the interview, we're going to talk about building rapport. And that's what the rapport allows for, is that feeling of affection, like we're building a connection. Control is something else that we experience in our relationships. Interviewing is no different. We are going to talk about directive and non-directive interviewing, where directive, the interviewer has a lot of control over the situation, and the non-directive, they don't. There's more of a balance. And so definitely the way that you structure the interview determines who has control, and as an interviewer, how much control are you willing to give up? And then finally, trust. As we engage in the interview process, we want to feel safe. We want to feel like we have trust with that person. So we talk about things, we do things, we build rapport in order to reduce that uncertainty, to build trust. We self-disclose. A good interviewer will share some things about him or herself. Especially like in a job interview setting, if you are interviewing someone, giving your own background, kind of how you came to be in your position, what do you like most about working for that company, is a great way to self-disclose a little bit and start to build that trust with the interviewee. So just these three things alone, the fact that it's complex, that it's based on, relational history, and the relational dimensions kind of tell us that this is more than just asking and answering questions. We're building a relationship with this person.